Alright, hello there, thrill seekers. What is the Zenist way to respond to overwhelming fear? We're going to talk about that and other things after 7 seconds of guitar music. Alright, thrill seekers, that was a little bit of the theme from The Twilight Zone as played by The Ventures. The actual version of the theme, the way you're really supposed to play it, is much more difficult, so I didn't learn that one. I learned the Ventures version. So, somebody sent me a question, and as you know, since before your sunburned hunt in the sky and before your race was born, I've awaited a question. And if you want to send me a question, you can also send questions yourself to bw@hardcorezen.info. That's how I generate a lot of my content on this channel, is your questions. So, I'm not going to read you this guy's whole question, but I'm just going to read you bits and pieces. He says, I've been suffering from really intense anxiety and sometimes panic attacks at night while I'm falling asleep, having fearful, intrusive thoughts about dying or something happening to my kids or wife and losing sleep. He says he believes it might be related to losing his parents in both at very early ages, or early ages to them and early ages to him. And he says, I live with this constant fear that I will die at an early age and not get to see my kids grow up and have kids. I know you can relate to this because of what you had to endure with your mother's illness. We can talk about that later. And your own struggle, blah, blah, blah. Says he's had coworkers who died recently, and that caused a lot of fear. And he finally gets around to his question. But should I avoid sitting or sit to help deal with this anxiety and trauma coming up? I'm afraid so often lately, and I'm sick of living with the fear. I want to sit with it and face it, but I'm scared it'll exasperate it and I won't be able to function and take care of my family, but avoiding it is making things worse, and so on and so forth. So what I'll do first is read you my answer to his question, and then I'm gonna just talk about it. So here's how I answered. The main question I want to address is, how do I sit with all of it coming at me? I think I skipped over that question, but he talks about having all this sort of fear coming at him. And, well, let's just do this right from here. I wrote about this a little bit in a couple of my books, in Sit Down and Shut Up and in The Other Side of Nothing, which is my latest book, which you should all go buy. The sales on this book are dismal. So buy this book. It's my best book, The Other Side of Nothing. In this book, there's a chapter titled, I Am My Own Bad Hair Day. And I believe the chapter that you talked about this same thing in in Sit Down and Shut Up, not Shobogenzo, was also called something about Bad Hair Day. I just thought that was a good way to put it. In Buddhas Alone Together with Buddhas, which is one of my favorite essays by Dogen, which I wrote about extensively in this book, which you should all go out and buy, he talks about an exchange between a Zen student and his teacher. The student asks, when 100,000 myriad circumstances converge all at once, what should I do? In other words, this is me, what do I do when I'm having a bad hair day? The teacher responds saying, don't try to control them. Dogen says that this means let what is coming come. In any case, do not stir. Whatever comes, Dogen says, is the Buddha Dharma, is exactly what you need to happen. He tells us, he being Dogen, that these words shouldn't be understood as a rebuke or an admonition. It's not a criticism of the student's desire to do something about the stuff that's coming at him. Dogen understands why the question is being asked. He's probably asked it himself. I think we all have. So he basically says, let what is coming come and do not stir. And I wrote that in shorter form to the guy who wrote me. And I told him, here's the rest of my response to him. Fear is a kind of thought. When certain thoughts cluster and start to behave in a way that affects us strongly, we call them emotions. There's no effective way to deal with fear that I know of except to face it. Face right into it. Don't fear the fear. Lean right into the fear. Try to feel all of the fear as completely as possible. Whenever I've done that, I see that fear is really nothing. It's just thought doing what thought does. In the first Godzilla movie, a character named Dr. Serizawa, by the way, I didn't remember that when I wrote to this guy, has created a super weapon that can kill Godzilla. potentially anyway. But he fears that once the world knows about his weapon, it will be used against people. It will fall into the wrong hands, is what he says. His friend says to him, "Then you have your fear, which could become reality, and you also have Godzilla, which is reality." And I even found the clip, so let's look at the clip.
"And what will become of us if a weapon such as I now have falls into the wrong hands? And you have a responsibility no man has ever faced. You have your fear, which might become reality. And you have Godzilla, which is reality."
Okay, so that's the scene. And I said, I love this line. Your fears might become reality, but it seems to me that chances are good they will not, in the case of the specific fears this guy talks about. You are aware of what happened to your parents, so you can take steps to avoid something similar. The only useful thing about your fear is that it might help you do that. I'm sure it already has. So the fear is now just a useless reaction. Don't try to escape your fear. Don't try to stop it. Accept it fully, and you'll be able to see it for what it really is. And what it really is, spoiler alert, is your imagination. And imagination is just thought. You know, this is all kind of easier said than done, because we all have fear. And when we use the word fear has kind of two meanings. And one basic meaning is the kind of fear you might have if you're being attacked by a lion, or the kind of fear I had when I was driving across this bridge between Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, and Akron, Ohio, in the dead of winter, and my car spun completely out of control on top of this bridge. And went all the way around, I guess you say 180 degrees, all the way till it was pointing backwards. I didn't know at the time if I was going to crash into the guardrail, if I was going to crash through the guardrail and fall 150 feet or whatever it was down to the valley below in this river. So I felt fear at that moment. But that kind of fear dissipates quickly. By the time my car had turned all the way around and come to a stop, there really wasn't any fear anymore. I mean, my heart was still pounding and probably adrenaline was still going through my veins, but it kind of stopped. And then I was able to drive across the bridge and back the wrong way, But luckily this was at like 2 a.m. There was nobody else on the road. And then just I knew another way to get to my house that didn't involve the bridge, and I drove back home. So that kind of fear just dissipates quickly. Then there's this other kind of fear, which is the fear that this guy is talking about, and it's something that I suspect only humans are prone to, or maybe if other animals do it, they do it very rarely and just a little bit. But we humans can get really overcome by it because we think about things. So we have all kinds of thoughts in our head. You know, the major thought of dying. We're all afraid of dying. Even having had the experiences that I've had through Zen and this understanding that what I truly am is beyond this ball of flesh that you see here, the what is Dogen called the skin bag, the stinking skin bag. That's what Dogen calls it. Even though I know that what I truly am is beyond that, the fear of death is still there because it's just a kind of thing that we're maybe born with, or that we're kind of inculcated, I don't know if that's a real word, with by society. And you have, if you think about death enough, you'll have fears. So, you know, we all have that. And sometimes we can become overwhelmed by it. But it's always just a matter of thought. Thought produces this stuff, and thought can sometimes go in a loop. And I think most of what we call emotions is just thoughts that are running in a loop, and they've run so much that they become internalized to the point where we might not even be consciously aware that we are thinking it, but the thought is going on way, way deep in our hindbrain or somewhere like that, and it's there. And like I said to the guy, the only way that I have been able to deal with this is just to look at it. There's a chapter in my book, Hardcore Zen, in which I talk about what people have laterally, in latter days, ever since the book has come out, they've talked about it in terms of it was a panic attack. And I guess it might fall under the definition of a panic attack. But I had this moment during a retreat where I was just gripped by what felt like all of the fear in the world all at once. And what I found, and I don't think I was really aware of this statement by Dogen that I read right at the beginning of this video, but what I found was the only way to deal with that was to face into it. Do not stir, as Dogen says. Don't try to fight it, because when you try to fight it, that's just a way of giving it more energy. But don't try to escape from it, because you can't really, there's nowhere to escape. It's just your own mind. And by looking at it for what it was, I could see that, like I said in the chapter of what was the book called? Hardcore Zen. I fear losing my memory. But what I said in Hardcore Zen is that I looked around at where I was, and I saw that there was nothing actually to be afraid of. So there was no car spinning out of control, there was no lion about to attack me, there was nothing specific going on, and I could just settle into what was going on at this moment and see the fear for what it was, which was just thought running wild in my head. Now there's another koan that I feel is kind of related to this, and I talked about it 3 years ago because I just looked it up on this video channel. It comes from Master Dogen's Shinji Shobo Genzo, which is Dogen's collection of koans. These are not... This book is attributed to Dogen, but he didn't really write it as such. He just collected all these of his favorite koans and wrote them down and collected them. But here is one that is, in this version, is Book 2, number 79. This book is divided up into 3 books, in quotation marks. And here it is. When Master Ungai Shinan was in the order of Master Sekiso, a monk asked Master Sekiso, "When all houses close their doors, how do we behave ourselves?" Master Sekiso said to him, "What is the situation in the Zazen hall?" 6 months passed before the monk could make a reply, and he finally said, "There is no one who will accept him." Master Sekiso said, "Your reply is very nice, but you have said only 80 or 90%. Hearing this, Master Ungai prostrated himself in front of Master Sekiso to request Master Sekiso to say something, but Master Sekiso would not say anything. Then Master Ungai grabbed hold of Master Sekiso, made the master leave his private room, and forced him to sit outside. Then he said, this guy's pretty aggressive. Then he said, "If the master won't say anything, I will have to strike him." What a guy. Master Sekiso said, "I've found the words." Then Master Ungai prostrated himself many times without stopping. Master Sekiso said, "There is no one who is aware of him." And when he heard these words, Master Ungai experienced a reflection of the truth. Now here is Nishijima Roshi's commentary on this. And remember, this is not Dogen's commentary. What bugs me about the other version of this book, which was put out by John Daido Loori, is that Daido Loori presents his commentaries in such a way that if you didn't read the intro, and a lot of people skip over that, you would think it was Dogen saying this, but it was actually Daido Loori. But anyway, Nishijima Roshi doesn't do that. He just puts it out as himself. His commentary is: a monk asked Master Sekiso, "When all houses are closed, what should we do?" The question means that if circumstances, that is, the external world, are aggressive towards us, what should we do? That's, we get fearful when that happens, so that's why I think this is related. It's somewhat related. Master Sekiso replied by asking about the situation in the Zazen hall. When we think about our state in the Zazen hall, in other words, when we practice Zazen, there is nothing to worry about. Therefore, even if all houses close their doors to us, it does not matter. The monk could not understand the master's words, but after half a year he found a good expression to represent the situation. He said that there is no one who accepts him. To accept suggests to teach, and him suggests the monk himself. The monk recognized the situation that he is alone in the universe. On hearing this, Master Sekiso affirmed his words, but suggested that the monk had not expressed the whole of the situation. Master Ungai then asked Master Sekiso to teach him, and he prostrated in front of the master. Master Sekiso wouldn't say anything. He wanted the monk to get his own answer. Then the frustrated monk forced his master from his room and threatened to hit him. Finally, Master Sekiso expressed his idea, which was much more severe than that of Master Ungai, saying there is no one who is even aware of him. Master Sekiso's words represent the situation that everyone is alone in the universe and cannot actually be recognized by anyone. On hearing those words, Master Ungai got some kind of reflection that he experienced reality directly. So that's an interesting story, because it says there is no one who will accept him, there is no one who is aware of him. When related to fear, maybe this is a bad fit, but I'm going to go for it anyway. When related to fear, this means you are yourself alone in the universe. There is nothing to fear except fear itself. As who was the president who said that? Was it Roosevelt? Anyway, there's nothing to fear except fear itself. You don't even need to fear fear itself. Fear is just an emotional reaction gone out of control, as I said. There is no one who will accept you. There is no one who is aware of you. Your fear is something that you are experiencing alone and is not related to anything real or anything external. Even if it is, even if, like the guy in the Godzilla movie, you have your fear which could become reality, because your fear, anything you kind of invent is almost always something that could become reality. I used to fear that Sasquatch was going to reach, this is really true, when I was like in 6th or 7th grade, I saw this movie where a Sasquatch reached through, this guy's watching TV, and the Sasquatch reaches through the window that's behind him and grabs him. And I used to be afraid that that was going to happen. So that's probably not going to happen. But we can always make up fears about things that will really happen. For example, I have talked about this kidney stone that I suffered from, or perhaps still am suffering from. That's kind of the point of what the story I'm about to tell you is. And a doctor has told me that I need to have this operation to get rid of the stone. And I've had a similar procedure before, so I have and it went badly, like really badly, like so badly that because of the reaction to this procedure, I had to cancel an entire European tour that I had intended to do that year. I canceled the whole thing because the reaction I had to this simple routine procedure was so bad. And then this procedure they want to do on me for the kidney stone is actually more complicated but quite similar. And I'm like, I don't want to do that again. So I have a lot of fear around that. We all do. But I also can see that the fear is an abstraction, and the practical way to deal with that fear is, for example, in my case, to talk to the doctor about the reaction I had and see what we can do to mitigate it and so on and so forth, and see if this thing is really even necessary. So having that fear is there, and I can feel it, and it feels as if one of the aspects of fear is it feels as if it's always there. Like I might assume that my fear of this procedure is continuing on under the surface at all moments. I don't know if that's really true. I think the fear happens when the thought happens, and the thought and the fear are one and the same. So as I said, and I'll just say, it again, the only way I've found to deal with fear, especially if it's that kind of existential dread or whatever, like, I don't know what you call it, but what this guy is talking about in his email, the kind of thing all of us have felt. I've certainly felt it. When you have that kind of fear, the only thing I've found to do with it is to just face into it. You just I was once told, and I hope I never have to get this advice or use this advice, that if somebody's about to punch you, if you see the fist coming to your face, the best thing to do with that, and the punch is can't be avoided, is to lean into it, because then you rob the punch of a lot of its power. Of course, it still hurts. That's kind of the way to deal with fear, is just lean right into it. You're going to experience something unpleasant when you do that, but my experience with that is that once you kind of get over the initial pain of sort of diving into it, it becomes very clear that this fear is really nothing. It almost kind of dissolves. I'm not guaranteeing this will happen to you exactly this way, but for me, that's what it usually does. It just kind of dissolves into like, oh, I'm just thinking about something. So there you go. That's how you deal with fear. I'm going to put info about my upcoming tour in Europe in September right after I tell you that if you want to donate to me, you can go to the URL that you're about to see on the screen below if you're watching, or you're about to hear if you're just listening, and that is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There's where you'll find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my main and usually my only ways of making a living, and I appreciate your support. But as always, you don't got to support me if you don't want to. All right, we will see you later. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Ziggy, what you doing? You gonna come in and help me edit the video? Alright. Let's go over there and edit the video, okay, buddy? Alright. September 11th through 14th, I'll be leading a retreat in Finland. For info on that, write to kajozendo@gmail.com. September 17th through 21st, I'll be leading a retreat at Benediktushof Retreat Center in Bavaria in Germany. For info on that, write to info@benediktushof-holzkirchen.de. September 25th, I will be giving a talk in Devon in the UK, and for info on that, write to Anshin, ANSHIN, @sotozen.uk. And September 27th through 30th, I'll be leading a retreat in Hebden Bridge, also in the UK. For info on that, write to hebdenzen@gmail.com. See you there.